Il y a quelques semaines, le scandale de Telford a éclaté en Grande-Bretagne. Plus d'1 millier de petites filles, principalement entre 10 et 15 ans, ont été violées, prostituées, trafiquées, humiliées, torturées et même assassinées sans que la police ou les services sociaux ne fassent quoi que ce soit, si ce n'est intimider les petites victimes pour qu'elles se taisent, brouiller les pistes en perdant les dossiers, les preuves et les traces ADN. Les médias et les politiciens ont activement démoli la vie de ceux qui osaient prendre la parole pour dénoncer et alerter le public. Pourquoi ? Eh bien, la raison est même écrite noir sur blanc dans les rapports officiels, c'est la peur de se faire traiter de raciste. Les petites filles sont blanches, les violeurs sont des Pakistanais musulmans. Par conséquent, les assistants sociaux, la police et les médias ont préféré taire ça pendant des décennies plutôt que de mettre les pieds dans un terrain glissant. Voici juste un seul exemple. Des policiers sont appelés par des voisins parce qu'ils entendent une petite fille hurler. Ils trouvent une petite fille de 11 ans, nue et bourrée à l'alcool, entourée par 7 hommes pakistanais. Ce qu'ils ont fait, c'est qu'ils ont arrêté la fille pour état d'ivresse et ils n'ont même pas questionné les abuseurs. C'est un exemple parmi beaucoup d'autres. Alors aujourd'hui, on parle du scandale dans la ville de Telford, mais il n'y a pas si longtemps, en 2015, il y avait le scandale de Rotherham, une autre ville dans laquelle plus de 1500 petites filles ont été dégradées dans les mêmes conditions. Pour comprendre Telford, il faut comprendre ce qui s'est passé à Rotherham, parce que c'est précisément la même chose. À l'époque de ce scandale, silence radio total dans les médias français. Mais pour Telford, contrairement à Rotherham, la nouvelle a fait une toute petite percée dans les médias français. Enfin, plus ou moins. J'ai récolté et traduit certains des rares bouts de docu et d'interventions journalistiques qui parlent honnêtement du phénomène. Alors au-delà du silence et de la désinfo des médias français, cette vidéo vous donnera une bonne vue d'ensemble pour comprendre ce qui s'est passé, ce qui continue de se passer et surtout pourquoi ça a pu arriver sans que personne ne bouge le petit doigt. Bon visionnage. Et s'il vous plaît, abonnez-vous.
Our conservative estimate is that at least 1,400 individual children in Rotherham were victims of sexual exploitation over the 16 years. There were examples of children being doused with petrol and threatened with being set alight. They were threatened with guns, made to witness brutally violent rapes, and threatened they would be the next if they told anyone. Girls as young as 11 were raped by large numbers of male perpetrators.
One of the young English children that was being raped at a house directly opposite this mosque on Mosque Way, a road that's been renamed as Mosque Way. In these cases, one of the victims had the letter M, inscribed with a burning hot iron mark on her bum, M, because she'd become the property of Muhammad. Another girl had her tongue nailed to a table. There's another court case now with 17 Muslim men who are in court for the prostitution and rape of young 12-year-old English white girls.
I had 7 mothers of 7 girls who were being groomed from school. These lads were waiting for them outside the school gate, and they flattered these girls, and the girls went along with it.
How old were they?
Oh, they were only about 12 or 13, very young. And this was the problem that their mothers had. They knew that there was sexual activity with girls who were underage. Not entirely, but nearly always, the gangs are from the Mirpuri Pakistani community. And these 7 women were saying, it's not fair, we've told West Yorkshire Police about it, we've told social services about it, and no one will do anything. I mean, friends of mine in the Labour Party, they'd known about it for years, and had never mentioned it to me.
Did you feel sort of, in any way, politically inhibited from talking about this?
Yeah, I did, actually. It was difficult for me to make these arguments without being called a racist. I just couldn't interest either Bradford Social Services or West Yorkshire Police. And it was very distressing for me. So the last resort was to go public.
Andrew Norfolk is now the chief investigative reporter for The Times. When he first heard about this story, his liberal angst kicked in immediately.
My reaction was, how on earth do you cover this story? Because it's the dream story for the far right. I as a journalist, wrote a simple story, a single story, and moved on and hoped it wasn't true. More shame on me, because as the years passed, I then began to see, as stories came in from across the North and the Midlands, little by little, drip drip, court cases with 2 or 3 or 4 men up for sex offences against children, and that very same pattern kept repeating it and repeating itself, and I couldn't help noticing that invariably the men, they were from the Pakistani community in the vast majority of cases. Eventually it got to such a point that in 2010 I said, to the newspaper, I think there's something really disturbing going on here and nobody's recognised it, and you need to give me some time to look into it. We ran our first story about this hidden crime pattern in January 2011. And I'd steeled myself for the inevitable accusations that would come.
Did you think people were saying, this bloke Norfolk, he's a bit of a racist?
Well, they were. I read articles, I read comments in various social media networks. It was quite strange and deeply unpleasant to get to the age of 45 and for the very first time in your life be accused of being racist.
Both Anne Cryer and Andrew Norfolk would regard themselves as liberal-minded people. Yet they were vilified for saying something that liberal Britain just didn't want to hear. And once the truth was out, you'd think that the first thing to do would be to make sure that vulnerable children knew that they were at risk. That's why, in 2008, Child Protection Chiefs commissioned this film to warn young girls of the dangers they faced.
My Dangerous Lover Boy very accurately identified the process by which a young teenage girl can get lured into a world in which they find themselves horrifically out of their depth. It had a young girl, maybe, what age would you guess from seeing her? 14 years old,
15,
maybe? 15. Full of adolescent frustration at the limits in her life and wanting to break bounds. A good-looking boy, a good few years older, but still a young man, maybe, early 20s, should we say?
Wanna come for a ride?
Turning up in an attractive car, music pounding, that initial attraction, the flirting, the excitement, the ride, is all so accurate in terms of the way young teenage girls take the first steps into this world that in the worst cases, can lead to utter degradation.
It's all right. It's okay.
But however accurate the film was, there was one problem. It was never shown to its target audience.
What I was being told by the people on the ground who had been involved in making that film was that the single most important reason why that film has not been shown in schools is because the main groomer and abuser was an Asian man. And that was unacceptable. There was a terror of treading into what was seen as a cultural, ethnic minefield.
A second film was circulated, however.
My men, all right.
Look closely. It's not that hard to see the difference.
I'm Lauren.
Oh, come in, Lauren. Nice to meet you.
He's a white teenager as opposed to a 20-something Asian.
He's a lad barely a couple of years older than the girls involved. You have a cast that is all white or African Caribbean, and no Asian men to be seen, as far as I can remember, in the entire film.
And it is very difficult to get Muslim organisations to condemn this formally, officially. The only religious person they had appear before them was a sheikh, an Islamic cleric, and at the end of it he tried to circulate a sermon to get all the mosques in Britain to read out that sermon in their mosques, condemning child grooming, child pimping, and 75% of those mosques refused to do so. Why would a mosque refuse to condemn child rape in a sermon? And 75% refused to do so. So there is a serious issue here. Okay. When you add to that the fact that it is justified within Islamic doctrine.
The plan was to make the girl feel important. She was given gifts and drugs, but she was being groomed to be a drug-addicted prostitute. Then came the gang rapes. The girls were threatened with death if they tried to flee.
It's not just sexual abuse. It is unspeakable levels of violence. Victims being raped with knives, victims being raped with bottles. victims having their tongue nailed to tables. These are sometimes girls who are being picked up from children's homes on a Friday, are being raped during the course of the weekend by hundreds of men, and then returned with bleeding groins back to the children's homes on a Monday morning, and they don't do anything about it at all.
My cousin was raped, and she was found naked running from the Muslim community, aged 13. The police wouldn't help. All the police would say is she's a drug addict. She was a drug addict because they got her hooked on drugs after grooming and raping her.
ISIS defends sexual slavery as Islamic, saying enslaving the families of the infidels and taking their women as concubines is a firmly established aspect of the Sharia, or Islamic law. The reason these crimes were covered up and continue to this day is political correctness. No one wanted to be called a racist.
Ce que vous pouvez faire, c'est montrer cette vidéo à un ami ou à un membre de votre famille. Faites-le savoir autour de vous, c'est tout ce qui compte. C'est à vous de relayer l'info parce que personne d'autre ne le fera. Je ferai d'autres vidéos sur le sujet parce qu'il y a énormément de choses à dire, mais avant de conclure cette vidéo, j'aimerais vous montrer ce qu'une politicienne britannique de gauche a dit au sujet de ces filles violées. Ces filles devraient fermer leur bouche pour le bien de la diversité. Laissez ça mûrir quelques secondes dans votre esprit, tout en sachant qu'elle n'a pas été désavouée par son parti politique, contrairement aux rares politiciens de son parti qui ont essayé d'alerter les gens. Eux, par contre, ils ont été virés. C'est sur ces paroles qu'on va se quitter. Si vous voulez vous abonner, cliquez sur la petite clochette pour ne pas rater la prochaine vidéo. À bientôt.